It is rivalry week in MLB. That means it is time for Guardians and Reds. Will it be Tito's revenge, or will the Guardians retain the most important trophy in all of sports? We'll tell you what to expect for this weekend in the Ohio Cup battle.
Tanner Bibee of the Guardians, and you're listening to Locked On Guardians.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, friends, everydayers, new listeners, and everybody else and Guardians fans to another episode of Locked On Guardians, making it more fun to be a Guardians fan by bringing you the best analysis of the Cleveland Guardians every day here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where we cover your Cleveland Guardians, your team every day. No more important time to tune in the head of the Ohio Cup. I am Justin Lada, lover of the Ohio Cup, but I have been covering the Guardians minor league farm system since 2007. I have given minor league analysis at places like Guardians Baseball Insider, the Morning Journal, and the News Herald, and here 5 days a week with my friend and co-host and also fellow lover of the Ohio Cup, Jeff Ellis.
Boo. I do not love the Ohio Cup. It's about as valuable as whatever that trophy was the Browns and Lions had. The Great Lake Barge or something like that.
The barge. Wow.
I am they're both more valuable than the World Baseball Classic trophy. I am Jeff Ellis, your co-host here and inviter of hate, I guess. Before being one of the initial people brought on to talk about baseball as a longtime draft and prospect analyst at Scouting 24/7. I want to thank each and every one of our everydayers out there jumping in the comments, downloading every day, as well as wanting to say thank you for making this podcast your first listen today and every day, wherever it is you get podcasts.
And on today's Locked On Guardians, we're going to talk about the farm system. Who is hot, who's not, and who's hurt. Spoiler alert, everybody's hurt in the Guardians farm system. We'll talk about the return of Corey Kluber to the organization and if he'll be a good coach and what makes a good coach, honestly. We'll start off today's episode talking about the Ohio Cup, and we'll talk more about the Guardians and Reds matchup. And will it be Tito's revenge, or will Cleveland continue to rock as we get into the Ohio Cup breakdown? Today's episode of Locked On Guardians is, of course, brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Maybe you want to head down to Great American Ballpark and get some last-minute tickets on Game Time to see this big matchup. It is the only matchup on rivalry weekend that has a trophy attached to it. So I'll just say, obviously, it's very important. But I will say it's going to be an interesting matchup. Obviously, the Guardians have retained the Ohio Cup the last 10 years by either winning or tying the series. This year, it'll have to be more than a tie, I think. Well, no, because it'll be 6 games. This is the first time I think it's been more than 4 games in a while, because usually it's just like a 2-game series on weeknights. This time it's actually on a weekend, so that'll be a little bit different. But it's obviously we're going to see a lot of headlines like Tito versus the Guardians, all that kind of stuff. That's gonna come into play quite a bit. And knowing Tito, of course, he's going to say doesn't want it to be about him. He wants to be about the players and the game. So I think you're going to see a lot of deflection from Tito. There's not going to be a whole lot of reminiscing and even when he comes back later in the year for that. But I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of talk from Tito about reminiscing about the Guardians and he'll maybe give some hugs out or whatever. But I don't think there's going to be this whole big ceremony on the field for those things. Like, he's going to want it to be about the players. So we'll see if he's ready to be on the wrong side of the Ohio Cup for a change.
Yeah, he's just a baseball lifer. It basically took him having failing health on multiple, he wasn't near death's door, but his body was falling apart on him. It was the only way to get him away. And the Reds gave him this opportunity. And, we'll see how it plays out for him there. The Reds team is also dealing with some health issues. When they're not facing the Guardians, I tend to root for the Reds, just because I've always had a strong, Ohio first kind of belief. So, it is going to be focused on Tito, because for a lot of time in Cleveland, you could argue he was the face of the franchise. During his time here.
Yeah, he definitely was. And I think he I guess he's not in Cincinnati because they have Elly De La Cruz. I think Elly De La Cruz kind of transcends across baseball the way Jose Ramirez has, because Elly is just a fun and exciting player, and obviously is the best player there. So and Hunter Green has stepped up too. He's hurt right now, but I don't think Tito is the face of the Reds the way he was in Cleveland I think eventually Lindor usurped him and Jose usurped him too, which is.
I still think it was always him. I still think it was always him, just because he was
he is a larger than life personality.
Yeah.
You're right.
And he talked to media more, because like that's the one thing with Jose that holds him back, because he's never been comfortable with that. And
maybe he is the face of the Reds. I don't know. I mean, Ellie does talk to the media and he does do English, so not that matters to me. Truthfully, I don't really care.
It doesn't matter to me either, but I think it does, like, that big picture of it all.
I guess, yeah. I mean, I guess in marketability, I think that's what holds Jose back unfairly too. And Ellie speaks limited English, whatever. But yeah, I mean, Tito's not going to want the headlines to be about him, but we know there'll be a lot of writing about it for sure over the weekend. And he knows this team well. I mean, he was around the team last year in terms of just, consulting, and while he was getting healthy, or at least he had some sort of title. I don't know how active he was around the team specifically, but he knows most of the roster from 2022 and 2023, and it's changed a little bit, but not that much. So he's going to know a lot about this roster, and it's going to be an interesting matchup. The Reds this year, offense has been very up and down. I was kind of looking at the numbers, and you would expect the Reds to be a better offensive team at their home ballpark, but the only guy that really kicks butt at home for them is Elly De La Cruz. Everybody else is kind of up and down. Like, a lot of the guys have better numbers on the road, and that might be fluky. That might be a lot of noise. But Elly De La Cruz definitely hits the ball well in Great American Ballpark. He has. The thing I'm most interested in is pitching matchup. Like, obviously Tanner goes on Friday tonight, and Tanner pitched a whale of a game last year in Cincinnati, except for 2 Jeimer Candelario home runs. This year, you don't got to worry about that because Jeimer Candelario sucks this year. I don't even know if he's healthy, but he's terrible this year. So he might not be in the lineup. That may not matter. And he's pitched better lately. He'll have to control the walks because, again, it's a hard ballpark to pitch in. But I think he'll be fine as he gets better. And then the rest of the weekend, the pitching matchup for Cleveland is unknown. Like, we're 99% sure it's Slade Ciccone on Saturday because Dion's pitching in Columbus and Siccone's no longer pitching. So pretty sure it's going to be him Saturday. And they don't have a starter listed for Sunday yet, but I believe it's going to be I think Logan Allen on Sunday.
Yeah, that would make the most sense.
Or,
right?
I'm sorry, no, it would be Ortiz. It would be Ortiz.
Oh yeah, you're right, Ortiz. Sorry,
so it's Ortiz. And you got a former nemesis, a guy the Guardians know well, and Brady Singer, who has pitched pretty well this year for the most part. Actually, the ERA has gone way up since I last looked, so he's not as good as he was. The thing I was looking for, Jeff, to see was there any changes to Brady Singer since he got to Cincinnati, because they've got a pitching coach down there that everyone seems to really love and think is great. And the only thing new for Brady Singer is that he throws the 4-seam a ton. He throws it a little bit less. He's introduced a cutter that he's replaced with the 4-seamer, but he's still sinker slider. Like, that hasn't changed. Those metrics, actually, he's thrown the slider a little bit less. He's thrown the sinker more, and he's cut into the usage of the 4-seam and the slider by throwing the cutter, a pitch he didn't have a little bit ago. The cutter overall says that it's been a good pitch for him results-wise. Expected stats say it should be getting hit harder or giving up more results, but it's a guy they know pretty well, and the only thing new about him is the cutter. So we'll see how that looks for him. And then the rest of the weekend, it's Chase Petty, who's not been good, and Andrew Abbott on Sunday, who strikes out a ton of batters, but also walks a ton of batters. So that could be a matchup where the Guardians definitely have to draw a lot of walks to win that game.
Yeah, and Singer is what he is at this point. He was a little overhyped in college, and he's a solid 4
All Gators are.
Yeah.
All Gators are.
Most Gators aren't successful. This is the thing in the pros. It's sorry, Smokey Gator every day.
Oh, he's gonna hate us for that.
He's gonna hit, but that's unfortunately the way it's been. It was a Gator for Gator trade with India for Singer, but I was the biggest Alex Faedo guy there was, and that hasn't worked out. But their pitching is not translated. But Singer has turned into a solid back end guy, and he's definitely outperformed Jonathan India in that trade. He's a solid starter. He has had some great games against Cleveland. He's had some terrible games against Cleveland. We'll see how it goes. Chase Petty's been really bad so far. I was kind of surprised that he got the call already. He's had some ups and downs in his minor league career. They really need to take advantage of a guy who is scuffling and having a hard transition to the bigs. And then Abbott could be difficult, but they are a team that is set up to hit lefties more than righties. Like, that is the way they are. So they should hopefully be able to take advantage of Abbott as well. I don't know. My whole view is I'm always hoping for 2 out of 3. I'm always hoping for the series win. That's always acceptable to me. I mean, according to our listeners, it's not, because viewership was down after the loss yesterday. But like, if you keep winning series, you're going to make the postseason. If you win your series in the postseason, you win the World Series. So that's all you got to keep doing. Like that's the right approach. And we still get a lot of comments about how terrible the offense is. It's middle of the pack like in baseball. Like no team. We've talked about this a lot. Like no team is perfect. No team has a perfect lineup except for maybe the Dodgers, and they're having their own sets of health issues. So. Cleveland's in a good spot. Cincinnati has struggled a bit to be 500. They have a lot of guys underperforming, so hopefully we'll see another series win.
Yeah, Sunday could be a tough one. Abbott's got the fastball changeup matchup that Cleveland doesn't typically do well against, so we'll see how that goes on Sunday. A pitcher that has never been overhyped is Corey Kluber. He always lived up to the hype. Once he got himself there, he is back with the organization as a coach. We'll talk about what that looks like, and we'll talk about what makes a good coach coming up on today's Locked On Guardians. Have you wanted to go to the ballpark at the last minute with your friends and family? Maybe you're checking the weather. Maybe it's game day and you want to be in the stands where the action is. That is exactly where Game Time comes in. It's the easiest way to grab last-minute tickets without the stress. It's going to save you money so you can go to the ballpark and explore all those fun food options at Progressive Field, drinks, merch, and it allows you to invite a bigger group to come with you to enjoy the experience. Game Time makes it possible. They make buying tickets faster and simpler. Prices on the app drop closer to the first pitch, so you're going to get great deals at the last minute. You're going to get a good view of your seat, and you're going to get the lowest price guarantee from Game Time. It's going to take the worry out of buying. Game Time is the ticketing partner of Locked On MLB. They make it easy to browse for upcoming MLB games. Dodgers coming to Cleveland. Memorial Day, it's going to be a hot ticket. Use Game Time to check it out and get the best price before first pitch on Memorial Day. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the app, create an account, and if you use our code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase, terms apply. You're going to get $20 off by using our code LOCKEDONMLB. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices, that is guaranteed. Today's episode of Locked On Guardians is brought to you by Epicor. Every team, the Guardians included, know the value of hard work and taking pride in what you build. The organization does that and practicing every detail the Guardians have to get the best results. But no one player, not even Jose Ramirez, no matter how amazing, can do it alone. We know that working together makes getting the win easier. And at Epicor, the all-stars are the hardworking manufacturers and distributors who deliver all the things that we need. That's from aerospace to electrical to medical devices. Epicor ERP solutions are created by industry experts to help make every day for you easier. Seeing your whole supply chain is easier. Managing logistics is easier. And of course, responding to price changes, a very important thing these days, is easier. So if you're a small business with big dreams or a growing enterprise with global vision, Epicor is going to equip you with the right tools to move forward, think ahead, and lead the way. The clock ticks down. You need to make the most of every hardworking minute you have. Easier doesn't cut corners. Easier takes the lead. Discover your success at easierwithepicor.com. That's easierwithepicor.com. I don't know what Corey Kluber's record was in the Ohio Cup. I don't know if he ever won the MVP of the Ohio Cup. Obviously, it's a very prestigious award.
No, nobody has that answer.
But he's back with Cleveland. I mean, this is exciting to have Corey Kluber back. I will say, over the years, you always hear these guys that come back in roles for front office stuff and special assistants. They've had guys come back before in the past, not Tommy, because Tommy's with the White Sox, but
yeah.
That Kluber was in camp.
Doesn't
with them.
Kipnis have some? Well, no, he's doing the TV stuff. That's what he has.
Yeah, he's doing the TV thing. But they've had guys like before Grady Sizemore went to the White Sox. He was back in camp with them as an instructor. Guys over the years have just kind of had those roles, like Dan Otero, Travis Hafner. All those guys have come back and had some kind of role with the Guardians. But Corey Kluber back as a special assistant they're still not really sure what his role is going to be, but you probably see him in the dugout recently. He's been around the team quite a bit over the last month or so. I think we've seen him show up in the dugout quite a bit. And, a lot of guys who are really good at the sport don't make the best coaches. Obviously, Corey Kluber was at the top of his game twice, winning 2 Cy Youngs. I can go back and look at Eddie Murray. Eddie Murray was not a great hitting coach, but he's a Hall of Famer. The Barry Bonds experiment in Miami, that was just 1 year, and the players, I can't really go there. But there's a lot of examples in baseball where really, really high level players don't make great coaching.
Yeah.
Just because I don't know. There's the old adage of like, guys who can't do teach, or people who can't do teach. So I don't know if that's really what it is here. I think Kluber brings an interesting perspective though, because Kluber was not a top prospect. He wasn't a guy people thought was going to be an ace or a Cy Young winner. I mean, a lot of people didn't even know if he was going to be a major leaguer. The Guardians took him in a trade with the Padres. He struck out a lot of batters in the minors, but he didn't really have a ton of success. He just seemed interesting, and he didn't make it to the majors until he was older. He didn't break out until he was older, which helped him stay with Cleveland longer because of easier small contracts. So, I feel like Kluber's been through it all. Like, he's a guy who had to prove himself. He had to keep working to make changes to find out what worked best for him to unlock the most out of his ability. And then once he found it, he held on to it for quite a long time. So, he was at the top of his profession, but he wasn't always there. He wasn't a guy who was on track to be a great pitcher his entire life. So I think, unlike a lot of guys who have a lot of success in the majors and don't turn into good coaches, I think Kluber's got a different perspective. So I'm really curious to see where they have him involved and just how much he's around and what he ends up doing. Because I do think that this is a case here where he can offer a lot more than guys who just played at a high level and come in and take on these roles. Like, I think there's possibly more here, and I think he brings a very unique perspective.
Yeah, and I think, we're talking about like hitting coaches have had a really hard time translating. I know I can't say this and then not back it up. We've seen all sorts of different types of pitching coaches. We've seen a lot of guys who are not good pitchers who become solid pitching coaches. We've also seen like the Stottlemyers who were good pitchers become, pitching coaches. So it's been all over the place. I think it's not so much too about, I think what makes a coach better is the struggle. Like, I talk about with some players, it's always interesting because there are those guys who've been so good their whole lives that they've never really struggled. And then they hit the wall the first time and they never come back. They're never the same. They don't have that ability to adapt. And I think one of the things that will make Kluber kind of understand, and let's be honest here, this is a part-time job. It's when he's in town. It's when he's getting an itch. I mean, I'm sure they'll have a formal schedule, but these jobs in the way they are put together is always more of a independent contractor type of situation than a regular thing. It's for the sake of the player. I should say the coach, in this case, the former player, to have a way that they can still contribute. And they do work with the team in various levels. It's kind of up to the player to decide just how involved they want, the former player, how involved they want to be. But to get back to the original point, Kluber is that guy where, as you talked about, like, when they made that trade, I'm like, are you sure you didn't mean Corey Kluber, the Ohio State pitcher? Like, because he was like 8th or 9th on the Padres system. I thought they'd at least get something. And Corey Kluber, I'm like, he is leading at least he's interesting because this is a time when there was no pitching at all in the system. This was before the factory, when the factory was just burned cinders in the ground before they built it up. That I was like, well, at least he's got an interesting K rate. Like that was what I had to settle on. But he had to make himself into a pitcher. So I think there's a chance this could be successful, that he could see and he was with the Yankees like a year ago in a similar role at one point. So, he's now been in multiple advanced orgs doing something like this. But I think there's also something yes, he came up with a lot of the coaches here, but not all of the same coaches, not all the same evaluators, and getting some fresh eyes certainly can never hurt.
Yeah, he was mostly here when Mickey was here. So like he wasn't really around Carl a lot. So that's something different. But yeah, I think he does provide something different, and I think a lot of it too is kind of like you said, it's him being around. I think for him, it's deciding what exactly he wants to do, how involved he wants to be. So I think that's the kind of the role he's in, is like he's going to find out and figure out exactly what he wants to do and how he wants to stay connected with baseball and figure out what's the best fit for him and what's the best fit for the Guardians and what the path forward is for him to be more involved. So I think they're just exploring what that looks like for both sides at this point. The one thing I'll say too is like I saw a lot of people, I think when the Guardians made the announcement, whether it was replies to tweets or texts from our insiders who were saying, oh, he's going to be the future pitching coach when Carl Willis retires, and they're getting him ready for that role. And I'm like, that's not really what it is. Like,
yeah,
again, Kluber's back here and he's just trying to figure out what he wants to do, how much he wants to be involved, and what exactly he wants a role to be. And the Guardians are also assessing that too. They have guys that could be Carl's successor. We don't know when Carl's going to retire. It could be this year, could have been last year, could be, next year. I don't know. But Brad Goldberg's a guy they had to promote twice very quickly because they felt like other teams were going to come calling. So I if anything, to me, Corey Kluber being here, if they want him to take on a more rigorous role and be more involved, I think what it looks like is if Brad Goldberg takes over, or let's say Carl doesn't retire and someone comes calling and makes Brad their actual pitching coach on another team, Corey Kluber can slide up into that role, and then maybe that evolves into future pitching coach if he wants it. We don't even know if he wants that yet. Like we don't.
Yeah.
He does. I don't think he knows what he wants.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think that's a big point you made. Is I don't think like he didn't. If he wanted that bigger role, he would have taken a bigger role. Like this is definitely a role that is kind of one foot in, one foot out type of situation right now.
Maybe he will. I think he'll figure it out as he gets more involved, and he'll figure out exactly what he wants. But I mean, it could be a situation where if they think Brad's going to be picked off by another team, which could happen depending on when Carl wants to retire or not, if he doesn't retire in time and a team comes calling. And there's also Joe Torres, who they like too, and he could get picked off any offseason too. So, this is another guy you bring in. The Guardians have had a lot of brain drain, and Corey Kluber is as good of any brain and arm as they've had. So a guy who had to learn a lot, and I think he can offer, a lot, like I said, a lot of perspective. So this is not a case of a guy who is ready to take over a full-time role, but he's also not a guy who's just here because it looks like good PR. Like I've seen good PR hires before where they've been like, oh, so-and-so is a special assistant. And it's like, okay, great. Like that's more of a PR thing. This is a real thing. He's around the team. He's watching bullpens. I think the most important thing, if you go back to the interview I had with Brad Goldberg over the offseason, talking about Carl Willis, this is a thing Corey will have to learn that I think he already might know, but he'll have to learn specific players. But coaches these days are more therapists and psychologists. And Brad said the best thing about Carl Willis is that he knows what to say, but he also knows when to say the right thing. And that's something you have to learn as a coach. You also have to learn the players to know what to say and when to say it. That's what makes, Carl so good. That's what the players like about him. That's what Brad said he's learned. I think that's something Corey's going to have to learn too, is you have to become a therapist. You have to become a good listener, and you have to know what to say, and you have to know when to say the right thing. So it's all about timing, especially in the day of information with all the stuff people get to. So that's something I'll have to learn and have to develop relationships with these players too. But I think this is a good move, and it could be it's more than a PR hire, but we'll see where it goes. I don't think he's necessarily in line to be the pitching coach next year, but it's an interesting hire nonetheless.
I think you compare it to Fryman, right? Like Fryman decided to pull back a little on his role to go from one role to another. So this
he was a manager, and then he decided he wanted to be home more. So now he's a minor league instructor who has a different schedule. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, Kluber's in that situation is what I'd compare it to.
Yeah. All right. Speaking of the minor leagues, we'll get into that. We'll talk about which Guardians prospects are hot, which ones are not, which ones are hurt. Spoiler alert, they're all hurt. We'll get into that next on Locked On Guardians. The NBA playoffs, they are in full swing right now. Every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, momentum shifts, can't miss moments, whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player. There's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy for you to stay in the game before tip-off and live during the game. They have player props, performance trends, same-game parlays, and fans like you have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. We're not going to talk about the NBA. We're going to talk about the Guardians. Forget the NBA. Tanner Bibee, Brady Singer, Friday night in Great American Ballpark. The Guardians are favored by 1.5 runs. The over-under is 9. I'm going to take the Guardians, and I'm going to take the under. The Reds play well in that ballpark, and he's had some home run issues, Tanner Bibee has, but he's pitched better lately. The Reds haven't had a great offense consistently this year, so I feel confident in Tanner shutting down the Reds offense to the tune under 9 runs total for the game, and the bullpen's rested, so it should be a good match. If you're new to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com, place your first $5 bet, and if it wins, you are going to get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more. FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. We'll take a break from focusing on the Ohio Cup, certainly the NBA playoffs, to talk about the Guardians minor league system. A lot of things are going on, Jeff, and a lot of things are not good. I hate this. Travbs Bazzana, we talked about this on yesterday's show. If you're an everyday or you heard us talk about it, he left Wednesday's game in the second half of the doubleheader after a double. It looked like he might have tweaked something in his abdomen or something on the first at bat, and he came in the second at bat and it was still bothering him. He got to second base and he walked off with trainers. He didn't play on Thursday. And Cleveland put a infielder up in Akron from Lake County to take a roster spot. That's not a great sign. Don't love it. We don't have any official news yet, but I don't love that. That really stinks. Ralphie Velasquez missed both ends of a doubleheader for Lake County on Wednesday or Thursday, so that's not a great sign. He's been dealing with some stuff this year too. Jason Churrio's on the injured list with a shoulder injury. The Guardians wanted to say it wasn't serious, but he also missed a week before they IL'd him, so a week didn't heal it, and then they decided he had to go on the IL, so I don't have a lot of optimism about that either. And then Alfonso Rosario, who's off to a really good start this year, he hasn't played in over a week now either with a wrist issue, so that's not great. Some of the Guardians' best minor league hitters, Bazzana, Ralphie, Brito, Rosario,
Janao hasn't even debuted yet.
Now hasn't debuted. They're all hurt. It really sucks.
They got a bad case of deladeritis right now in the minor leagues.
And what's funny is the Lauder and Valera are both playing in Arizona rehabbing. Valera just played in his first game of the season out in Arizona on Thursday night in right field, and DeLauder's played a couple games too. So it's funny that those guys, the most perpetually injured ones, are coming back, and everybody else is getting hurt. So I absolutely hate that. I really hate it.
Injuries happen. It's unfortunate. It's all the guys who typically have been pretty healthy. It just sucks. Like, there's no nice way to say it. There's no good way around it. That is not what you want to see. And we just got to hope that they're all really minor things. I think that's just where we are. Just keep hoping that these are minor things.
Yeah, they never are, unfortunately. On the good side of things, pitching has been interesting for Cleveland this year in the minors. I watched Josh Hartle start the last 2 times, actually, but I watched him on Thursday again. He was really good, really good. His last couple starts, he's got now put together back-to-back starts with no walks, and he's only got 2 starts this year with more than 2 walks. The rest of it's been 1 or 2 or 0, so that's really good. Out of the 7 starts he's made this year, he has walked 2 or less 5 times. That's a good sign. He's striking more guys out. He's getting deeper into games. He got into the 6th inning on this one. And looks like the cutter is better for him again. Looks like the slider's back. The fastball velocity is still like 90, 92, topping out at 93. He was never going to have a great fastball. And I think he tried to get more on it his last year in college because that's what he 100%. Thought he had to do. Yeah. So I think, it makes him a high floor, low ceiling pitcher, but that might just be who he is. And if he pitches more like who he is, he could be a good starter. I think he has a little more than Logan Allen to him because I think he's got more pitches. He's taller. He's got a better frame, but he's got to have better command. But he's starting to show that. I think Josh Hartle has a chance to get to Akron before Tugboat, honestly, the way he's pitching.
Yes. Agreed. Because, I think we talked about it a little bit on the show. Everyone's very excited. I know we had a comment like, when's Tugboat going promoted? And the answer is like, I don't think it's anytime soon. Like his walk numbers are almost double of a year ago. And it's like, the pitcher he was effective in low A is not as effective. He's still missing bats, which is a positive sign, but it's all the things we've seen with similar profiles. And right now, Hartle is a better prospect. Like, he should move quicker. Peterson needs to move. He has no business being in Double A at this point. We can talk Davenport as a guy who probably should also move as well. And then maybe you see both Hartle and Wilkinson go, but honestly, Hartle should be the priority.
Yeah, I agree. I think Hartle's got better stuff overall. He's pitched at a higher level. There's the body type thing, which whatever. A lot of what's happening for Tugboat is getting by on deception and command.
Yeah.
Hartle's not quite as deceptive, but he's got command. At least he's getting back to the command he had before his last year in college when it kind of evaded him. But he certainly looks better than he did before. And yeah, Tugboat's command and control has kind of gone backwards. Guys aren't biting as much on him right now there. But yeah, hopefully, I think Hartle should go to Double A quickly and soon because Austin Peterson should be in Triple A. He's not walking anybody. He's missing less bats than a year ago, but he's still pitching fairly well. I think you need to see what he can do in AAA with the Major League ball and against AAA hitting because he's going to be 26 at the end of the year. And so is Aaron Davenport. He'll be 25.
Yeah, 25
here
in July.
Pretty sure in July. He's repeating AA, but he's having a great year. I think Davenport, I'm not buying Davenport as a starter because I don't think he has the fastball nor the size to be a starter, but he's missing more bats this year. He's walking less guys, which has always been an issue for him because he's changed his delivery from a windup to pitching out of the stretch. But I really like the curveball and changeup that he has. And if you put him in the bullpen, he ends up being maybe the fastball gets a little better. He could be a nice reliever. But, you got to see what those guys can do at the AAA level because you change to the Major League Baseball versus the one they're using in AA, which is still so stupid to me. And, you're going to move Slate Ciccone to the majors for who knows how long. So there could be an open roster spot at AAA. And Peterson and Davenport, one of those guys, probably Peterson first, should be in AAA. And then you can move Hartle or Tugboat up to AA.
100%. And, when you're looking just at all of it, it's like most relievers were starters. Like that's just the truth of it. And then it's that transition. And, Davenport's only 6 feet tall and he might, barely be 6 feet tall. But the secondary stuff, like there's enough to be, he was almost borderline non-prospect for me coming into the year. He's done enough to where I'm like, hey, maybe he's a future reliever. So he's done a lot. Yeah. He's really elevated himself this year.
He has.
Peterson. Yeah, go ahead.
You want to hear a funny Aaron Davenport story real quick before we get out of here?
Yeah.
Aaron Davenport and Cade Smith went to the same college. Cade Smith, they both went to Hawaii. Cade Smith got signed in 2020. The Guardians drafted Aaron Davenport in 2021. Aaron Davenport, I'm told, has no recollection of being teammates with Cade Smith, even though they overlapped at Hawaii. So they're very two different people. Cade Smith's very quiet, very, keeps to himself. Davenport is a little more outgoing, maybe. I don't know the right term there, but yeah.
You don't have hair like that unless you want people paying attention to you.
Yeah, Aaron Davenport does not apparently recall being teammates with Cade Smith at Hawaii, even though they overlapped.
Was it only the 2020 year, which was like a very short period of time? Is that maybe it?
It could be. Yeah, I can't. No, I don't know because Davenport got drafted in 21 and Cade's last year was 20, so they would have had overlap for multiple years.
Maybe someone was hurt. I don't know, but that is a funny story. That's definitely a very good point. What is also great is all of you who have joined us all week. We're going to be talking, of course, about Monday morning headlines, looking ahead to the Twins, and going over the Reds Guardians. I want to thank you all for joining us. Remember to rate and review, download daily, hit the thumbs up, do all that stuff. It's all free and easy and quick, and it helps us out a lot. Make sure you're tuning in every day, and go Guardians, go.